Have you ever wanted to explore the world, travel to new planets, or fight a human-like octopus in a paintball battle? Well, you can. And if you've ever played a Nintendo game, you very well may have. Nintendo is widely known for their highly entertaining and high-quality video game series and innovative hardware. Series such as The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Bros., and Splatoon, which I referenced each at the beginning, have brought joy to people for decades total. Since it has been over 30 years since Nintendo released their first video game console, it is time to take you on a retrospective or look back on the history of Nintendo. Nintendo was founded in 1889, but it wasn't until 1985 that they released their first video game system, the NES. The US market at the time was in decline, meaning that Nintendo was the only real competitor at the time. Hit titles such as the original Super Mario Bros. And Legend of Zelda games pushed the NES into stardom, causing a revitalization in the US market. By the end of its life, the NES had sold over 60 million units. However, another Japanese game company, Sega, was about to release a system of their own. Sega released the Genesis and marketed it as a more mature system in 1989. In response, Nintendo released the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in 1991. Even though Sega had a 2-year head start in the market and had a very heavy marketing campaign, the SNES would outsell the Genesis by 20 million units. During this time, disc-based technology was becoming more and more popular. Nintendo initially partnered with Sony to release a disc-based add-on for the SNES. However, Nintendo publicly betrayed Sony, leading to Sony's release of their own system, the PlayStation. Nintendo responded with the Nintendo 64. Released in 1996, the system had twice the graphical power of the PlayStation. However, it used cartridge-based format of its predecessors, which was more expensive and couldn't hold as much data as the disc-based of the PlayStation, the disc-based format of the PlayStation. This and other factors led to developers abandoning Nintendo in favor of Sony, causing the PlayStation to sell over 100 million units, while Nintendo's 64 sold less than either of its previous consoles. After the N64, not much changed. PlayStation continued to dominate the industry with the PlayStation 2, and Nintendo released a follow-up system to the N64, the GameCube. Sega dropped out of the consoles market altogether and was replaced by Microsoft and the Xbox brand. While the GameCube was more powerful than the PlayStation, it used a smaller proprietary disc instead of a CD, leading to developers to stick with Sony and the PlayStation 2. Meanwhile, the GameCube continued Nintendo's sales decline, selling less than any of the previous consoles to that point. However, Nintendo was about to strike gold. After having so many failures, Nintendo decided to pursue a different demographic, the casual audience, which was a group of people who weren't too into video games. Nintendo released their new console, the Wii. With the Wii, Nintendo once again found major success. Its easy-to-learn motion-based control scheme was very widely enjoyable by people of all ages and of all different video game experience. The Wii would go on to sell 100 million units of its own, while the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 sold about 80 million each. To follow the Wii, Nintendo released its successor, the Wii U, in 2012, keeping the motion controls while adding a touch-based controller pad to the system. However, Nintendo failed to explain its purpose to the consumers, leading to poor initial sales at release. As a response, developers once again abandoned Nintendo like a sinking ship, and by the end of its life, the system would have sold 14 million systems. Meanwhile, Sony struck gold of their own with the PlayStation 4 that once again sold over 100 million units. Nintendo realized their mistake, and in 2017, which was relatively quickly for video game systems, released a successor to the Wii U, the Nintendo Switch. The Switch combined home consoles with portable consoles, and with a simple click of its detachable controllers, you can play it on the go as well as on your home screen. After less than a year of being on the market, the Switch had already outsold the Wii U. Nintendo has been through the mud and on top of the world, but we have yet to see the last of them. With the Switch, Nintendo is only still showing that they have the ability to change the way we play video games. Recently, Nintendo released the Switch Lite, a portable-only version of the Switch, which sells for $100 less than the base model. With this, Nintendo can only continue to expand themselves and return to the limelight as we have seen them before.